Hi everybody, it's been a couple minutes since I just finished clearing Lucilius. Let's talk about right now though what Lucilius dropped, what the update means, everything that basically came to Granblue Fantasy with, I guess, the introduction of the patch. Let's get into it. Okay, so first things first, there's been a bunch of things that have been basically introduced, including, again, the final version or the new fight. There's a number of changes to characters in the game as well. They added new trophies. There are new sigils that, again, you can receive after handing in stuff from Lucilius, but the actual patch itself includes changes to literally every character. A lot of the notable characters that you might be thinking of that do a lot of damage because of an unintended interaction with damage cap, i.e. Percival, Rakam, are no longer in the game. They just patched out the game, which is really insane. And now they added Proud difficulty quests alongside the quick quest queue, except for the few that you can't do, which is, again, I believe the ones that are locked behind certain circumstances or like certain quests that you have to otherwise do in case if you don't end up getting into it. In any case, most of the characters got adjusted or fixed so that they kind of feel better or don't have any bugs attached to them, or a lot of the bugs were squashed basically. But the other thing that's really big about this patch is that not only did they fix a lot of other items to the game or other bugs, they actually fixed the camera stuff that a lot of people have been suffering from. There's adjustments for the camera to stay centered on a locked on foe that's far away, so I'm assuming this is for Bahamut. There's also smoothing or sensitivity when it comes to the camera as well, which is really great. But before we get to the drops with Lucilius, there are more quality of life changes coming to version 1.1, including, again, the camera sensitivity, in addition to mass sigil transmutation and updated key binding options, which is huge for the game. In all honesty, that is insane news. I'm so happy with this. But now it's time to talk about Lucilius, some tips and tricks that I have for you, honestly, if you're about to get into the Lucilius fight, and the drops that he gives. Okay, so now that we actually get to the Knickknack Shack after you beat Lucilius, what you can do is when you go into Treasure Trade and you go to Sigils, you can see we've received 3 new sigils that you can trade in with the Tears of the Apocalypse and the Dark Residue drop that you get from beating Lucilius. The amount that you can receive from beating the boss, by the way, and I guess ranges anywhere between 1 and 3, or at least that's what I've seen. Some of my teammates got 3, I got 2. And for Dark Residue, I've seen as high as 14 and as low as 9. If that range changes or if things are off, just know that you get a couple of Tears of Apocalypses, and also Dark Residues. Here's what the traits do, and boy howdy are they insane, because number one, all of these things or all of these sigils come with damage cap, which is great, but the actual crazy thing is the trait that you get, which is for alpha, it reads that it boosts the cap of normal attacks, and it also reads that activating an SBA with the sigil equipped boosts SBA gauge gain for all allies when this trait is at max level. Now, I don't have to tell you how ridiculous this is, because ultimately everyone's probably going to be running at least 2 of these alpha traits among everything else, simply put because, again, it's 40% damage cap. And you also have, again, increase, I guess, basically the equivalent to uplift or something similar to uplift if you do have alpha equipped. And then you have beta, which is even crazier because beta reads that, again, you gain 50% skill damage cap and it decreases your skill cooldowns upon activating your SBA when this trait is at max level. In other words, they basically put the onslaught basically into the traits. Now you have additional skill cap damage. It makes you do even more damage. Who knows? Maybe we were capped on Lucilius. I don't know if we're supposed to be beating phases even quicker, but the idea I think here is that, again, we have to raise the ceiling on fights even higher or to even greater heights. And the idea behind this is that, again, this is now the thing that a lot of people are going to be farming. But the third trait that you're probably wondering about is this gamma, and unfortunately I can't really think of a character right now who would really want the protective barrier upon activating my SBA. However, I will say that with the way that the fight works, specifically with how much AoE, how much damage you're taking in the Lucilius fight, arguably you could maybe find an opportunity to use a protective barrier whenever you use your ultimate. But in the fight and through most fights, when you're using your SBA gauge, the boss is now like basically on the ground and he's kind of staggered and not attacking. I'm not really sure what this is supposed to come from. And ultimately at level 30, you do gain a 50,000 damage shield that nullifies damage, but whether or not you'll even end up taking another 50,000 damage, who knows? In the Lucilius fight specifically, there are literally just some attacks that Lucilius does that does like 120,000 damage. So I don't know how valuable this is. It's kind of an unfortunate trait or sigil in all honesty, just because it's kind of been outshined by its peers. Unfortunate. Another thing that you probably noticed is that now you can actually trade in some of these Tears of the Apocalypses for Azurite Splendors and Mascus Ingots and ambrosia and such stuff of this like. But ultimately, this is probably not going to be worth it after, you know, or as opposed to getting alpha and beta. But if you are farming out the fight somehow, which by the way, I have no idea how you're going to do that considering how difficult the fight is, I would say that these Azurite Splendor Damascus things are nowhere near as worth it as opposed to, again, just doing Slimepede or doing anything else in between. That's it for the Lucilius drop section though. And finally, if you want to see what the Lucilius fight drops itself in terms of like what's on the quest, there's a link together, there's a guard payback, there's a damage cap, and among other things that are dropped here. But ultimately, guys, the thing that you should know, when it comes to this fight, this is no joke. You do need your auto revives, or you do need your guts. You are going to need your potion hoarder, especially on first clear before you get maybe like the stronger sigils that let you clear through this. But this is a whole like raid. This is no joke. In terms of mechanics and a general flow as to what happens, I'll kind of give you the rundown. There's a lot of AoEs on the ground, and the boss kind of forces you into this dodge pattern where whenever he's in the sky, he'll just kind of rain down at you, and you have no choice but to continuously dodge and keep moving. There are a lot of moments where he's not hittable, or he doesn't seem hittable, or it's not really worth it to hit him, just because you're probably getting blitzed out by stuff that's falling above you. I will say that the specific pattern of the balls dropping from the sky, or like the daggers slashing at you, a lot of these are random, but they always happen right next to each other, so keep that in mind. And in-game, Sandalphon actually tells you when you're supposed to be using your SBA gauge. Just know that for the first time, or before you end up using or generating your SBA for the first time, he suggests that you save it because you need it to cancel one of the like specific interactions or one of the transition phases that he casts. But aside from that, guys, I would say that, again, if you can, don't take any character that has CC, because as far as I can tell, he's immune to them. A lot of ranged characters feel a little bit good because there are sections where you want to be hitting AoE or hitting far away from you. And then also, if you can, and if anyone you know is a Lancelot player, I'll be honest with you guys, this fight is really good, especially if you're taking, or this fight is much easier on you as a Lancelot player if you have Flight Over Fight. I apologize for the rest of you guys that are dodging 1,000 times a minute, but I know that my Vasaraga brethren are definitely making use of the Undying ability. If you're playing Io or Fairy or any of these casters, well, if you're playing Fairy, you just got gutted, and that'll be a change that I talk about later. But that's something that's unfortunate. But if you are playing a caster, beware, because this fight is really crazy. But otherwise, guys, make sure to take defensives. If you get hit by the dark swirls in the middle of the fight, be careful because those injure your health. I'm probably make a full guide for exactly what happens in the fight, and that'll be fine just based off of the clear that I did. Until then, guys, make sure to play careful. Happy hunting. This fight is crazy. Side game's cooked, and the drops look worth it. Anyways, guys, that's gonna be it for this video, though. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to like, comment, turn the notification bell, subscribe. I hope you guys enjoyed. I will probably include snippets or like bits and pieces maybe of... Thanks again for everyone that's been supporting this content. I appreciate it a lot. I will see you all in the next video, though. Adios.